Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Office Hours. We take your questions every single day. Our reader today is Alexander Knight. So, Alexander, what have we got?
First question coming in this morning is from Scott Tupper in Livermore, California, USA. I came across this Atem Companion app. Anyone using it? It looks like there's a link to qlist.nl.
And it looks like Alexander Knight's going to help us out there.
I have not used this, but man, does this thing look slick, and it looks like it solves a very real problem. So this is the website here with the interface, and it actually says here, it says anyone who works with an Atem and Companion knows how powerful the combination is, using blah, 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 Companion interface. So basically, it looks like some kind of GUI where you can stack actions together. And it gives you a better interface in order to do that and control the show. So I haven't tested it. I will have to get back to you on that. But so far, it looks pretty neat.
I'm pretty excited about that, too. There may be a possibility for making my rig easier. Jason Bache, what do you think?
Yeah, +1 on that. Good find, Scott.
I think there will be a lot of people in our show community who are using those tools who will be interested in a little more automation, so well done. Next question.
This one's from David Brady in New York City, New York. Is iodine still the be-all and end-all of portable storage?
Ooh, I've never heard anything described as that, but let's see what Courtney Gooden thinks. Courtney?
Well, I haven't used it, but gosh, I don't do a lot of editing, but this thing looks about the size of a laptop. 48 terabytes does it hold? Yikes. Looks like it could go, I guess they want you to mount it vertically so that it gets good airflow across all sides of it, because it probably generates a lot of heat. Looks pretty amazing if you want to be a central hub for all of your data. It has 5 gigabit, transfer rates, so USB 3. Or USB 4, I guess. I guess that'd be 10 terabyte, 10 gigabit. So looks pretty good, although I can't say I've had any experience with it. It does look like the end-all be-all, but it looks kind of heavy to carry around. I kind of like the little NVMe drives because I never need more than 2 or 4 terabytes to carry around with me. 48 would be, a lot more data than I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. The question is, what's the price point? Did anybody see any kind of retail on it? Is it in the zone of, I wonder what the minimum configuration is and how much it costs to play. If you're doing something online, if you're a DAT out on a field shoot, sometimes money isn't an issue at all, particularly if you're working at a high-end production, but it could
It seems to me, I looked at this thing a while ago, and it has so many ports on it. I'm assuming you can attach multiple computers to it. Kind of like
so
kind of like a
hub
jellyfish.
For an editing operation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying DIT. I mean, 48. Are you serious, Courtney?
I think it has 10.
48 terabytes is more.
10 NVMe ports inside of it. Look at that.
Oh man, there's some capacity there. Alexander Knight, did you look into this further?
I clicked the buy button, and my God, is that expensive?
That's what I was. I was looking at those specs, and I was thinking, okay, that's not cheap.
Starting from $4,950, it can be yours.
That's not horrible.
It's obviously
is that without any
people.
memory? So you have to buy the NVMe.
Yeah,
it's not the kind of thing you want to leave behind on the bus.
Generally not. Well, obviously there are people doing a lot of production work with big budgets, and that makes perfect sense. Jason Bache, you wanted to get in on this.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking this over, I don't think there is such a thing as an end-all, be-all for storage. It's always been a pretty commodity-driven place where cash is king, and it's really a matter of performance per dollar. Not that I'm biased, but dollar for dollar, there are at least 3 OWC rigs that cost less and do more.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing about this is that this industry, the idea of storage, moves so fast that if it's be all and end all, it'll be for a couple of hours because there's just so much coming out behind it and around it. And I'm thinking back to my very first external hard drive. I think I mentioned on the show before. It was a thing that looked like 2 shoeboxes strapped together. It was huge. It was from a company called Corvus back in the day, and it was a whopping 11 megabytes. And I just look at the distance we have come from literally that to desktop petabytes. It's such a fast-moving target.
The documentation here does say 4 users can share it. So this is a lot more than just a hard drive.
Okay. Anyway, if you're in the market for that, compare that to the other products out there. And if David, if you end up pulling the trigger in this direction, come back and tell us how everything functions. Next question.
This one's from the QR code. Kent Curry in Castle Pines, Colorado asks, it looks like the Blackmagic Design Atem Mini Extreme ISO G2 switcher is now in stock. Anyone interested?
Jason Bache, are you interested?
I'm interested, but I stopped myself. I thought, okay, if I decide to bring myself to sell like the other 2 or 3 Atem minis that are just kind of like around because I upgraded during COVID, maybe I would shake a stick at it. But I don't know. The Atem Mini Extreme ISO that I have is working beautifully after its fans were replaced. And I don't know. I'd rather spend money on other things.
Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, so it's nice. I'm still waiting for the SDI model. Yeah, that's weird for me to say, but I have the minis myself. I'm not a big fan of the chiclet keys, and I don't know how these new keys are, these new buttons are going to work. But I've been playing on the HD8 ISO for some shows, and it's a really nice system. It's big, but it's nice, and I just kind of like the feel of the buttons on there, and I think that's what I would be looking for. Yeah, and I could use like Stream Decks and on-screen stuff, which is what I do with the HD8 as well. But I'd really have to test it out and feel like it's something that works for me. It's great for a portable situation. I won't have to take the big television studio with me, but we'll see what happens. And once I get the SDI version of that mixer.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, this is one of those things where a lot of people are saying, hey, I want the SDI version, but the cost difference to jump up to the one that Jeffrey's talking about is pretty dramatic. So the HD8 has got some of the same capabilities. And this one being only HDMI, I'm kind of on the fence. Do I really want to put a bunch of converters in front of this stuff? And if I have metadata that's in that SDI, I don't get it. So now I've got lag going in latency. And I'm wondering if Blackmagic isn't going to put out an SDI version because it would hog up some HyperDeck sales, because you could record 8 ISOs with this machine. So I have 9 Key Pros over here that cost a lot of money that could do this thing. If it was an SDI version, would fall right into suit to replacing those. The important thing that a lot of people are forgetting, though, on this unit is that it does have Thunderbolt on it, so it acts as an Ultra Studio. So an Ultra Studio is a grand by itself. So this thing can do MIDI playouts, for example. So it's not just your regular switcher like we're used to. So I have the regular Atem Extreme ISO, the G1 version, and that's one thing I wish it had, because I have to pack around 2 different devices. So this consolidates into one.
Chris Fenwick.
I just felt this had to be shown. So if we're talking about the Atem ISO, that means you're going to be recording. And if you're going to be recording, you're going to be making data. If you're going to be making data, you might need that iodyne hard drive, and they want you to buy it so bad, they sell a case that you could put 4 of them in it.
Oh, my God.
How's that for subliminal marketing? You should own 4 of these very expensive hard drives. Sorry to go backwards with content buy.
So what would your storage capacity be if you maxed out those, 8 cards, and then put 4?
Actually, on the website, it does say that it will be very similar to that little island off the coast of Italy. It has 3 million Sicilian people. That's the biggest number I've ever heard.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Let's keep talking about them. Next question.
Kyle Hammond in Chicago, Illinois asks, from the desk of resurrecting old tech, has anyone gotten or going to get one of these? Commodore.
Oh, my God. I see www.commodore.net. Is someone resurrecting the Commodore 64 or something? Jason Bache, what is this thing?
Okay, so I've had a chance to look at this, and this is a weird mix. I believe this is actually a re-release from Commodore. And, again, so not an emulator, not a PC, retro gaming heaven in 3 dimensions, silicon, nostalgia. And then it starts getting weird. Powered by an FPGA recreation, you mean not an emulator, but a recreate. Like, okay, let me get this straight. It's not a rebuild. It's not, this is a very pretty Raspberry Pi with some old keyboards and a spiral bound manual, but it's just kind of nothing. And then I went into the store. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of neat. All right, good, great, fine. And then I saw an Ethernet jack on the back of it. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, this is neither here nor there. Like, no.
Calling Dr. Frankenstein, Guy Cochran.
Well, if you get one, maybe I could plug my Commodore 64 5.25 floppy.
That's going up in value, Guy. That's
actually. I still have my Commodore 64. It was my first computer from 1985, and I still remember Lodestar, (8,1) to load stuff off this drive into the little 64K of memory that it had.
Actually, I just checked that disk port. Will it take the 6-pin edge connector? Because if it won't, then you're up a creek.
There's a 6-pin right there.
Wait,
I'm guessing it's not backwards compatible, but whatever.
Well, if you want authenticity, here you go. And it comes probably without any dust on it that you have to.
This is what I was saying yesterday. We need to do an episode of Office Hours for each decade. Like, what if Office Hours was 80s? The 80s.
So pull out your TRS-80s, pull out your, what else was around back then? Anyway, Courtney Gooden
I'm having a hard time
in.
getting my parallel port to work.
Yeah, I haven't. I had a Commodore 64, which Commodore sent me at the time, but it didn't have an HDMI port or an Ethernet port on the back of it. And this one, of course, has a transparent version, which lights up in LED colors. So, whoopee! This is, I wonder why, because you can get an emulator that runs on any PC, for free, that'll run all of those games that this thing runs. So why do you need this? If you just want to have the hardware to look at, I guess, and don't want to shell out a bunch of money for an original that you find at a thrift store somewhere, and stick a Raspberry Pi inside so it looks the same. I'm not sure what target audience are looking for. However, if you want to hook it up to an old CRT monitor, I've got some for sale, but they're just the right size, those 15-inch CRTs. Now, I don't have the original Commodore monitor. I did used to have one. I used it in my music room for years to plug into my computer, but not anymore.
It's running through my head. Everything old is new again. Alexander Knight, dive in.
I'm not particularly nostalgic for these. We used these in elementary school because the school had many of them still well past their prime. They were broken. They couldn't upgrade. And I didn't like them back then. I still don't like them now. I mean, $300 USD for this. I suppose if you grew up with this and it was your first computer, you might feel more attached to it. But personally, I think we should bring this back because this was my first computer. This was an Atari ST with a color screen. And I played a lot of Outrun, so I have good memories of that.
Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, it looks nice, and that's the internal of because they have a see-through version that you can see. So as you can see in this version, you have this chip right here can be removed and replaced. So that's the main CPU. Plus you get extra peripherals. So if somebody does have the disk drive, you should be able to maybe connect it to these ports is my guess. But for the most part, it looks decent. What it would be used for, things like if you are a musician and you want to get more of that retro feel, retro sound to that, maybe that's a way you would go with this. But definitely the quick, the gaming experience that people had when they were, they were sitting in front of that small 13-inch CRT TV or whatever, just to play games like Bomberman or anything like that. And then, of course, having it in the background of any type of podcast where people go, oh, that's a cool Commodore 64. Where can I get it? So if you want to pay $499 to stick it on the back shelf, be my guest. I guess that's the big.
Who would possibly do something like that? He said, with a original Mac 128 sitting over my right shoulder on a shelf behind me. As you can imagine, the chat today in Mukana is fun. Everybody's talking about. Alan Scott said, I made the mistake of buying a VIC-20 6 months before they released the Commodore 64. We got Amiga developers on deluxe paying by Electronic Arts, and the Commodore Amiga, which targeted video production. So we're having fun going back in time for some of them around there, chatting about old games and just the beginning of computing when it wasn't as huge an empire as it is now. So fun. Thank you very much, Kyle, for bringing the whole thing up. Let's go to our next question.
Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia, USA asks, House of Worship is 100 miles away from me. Should we use parsec or something else for me to connect to the House of Worship machine?
Let's go to Guy Cochran here first. Guy?
Yeah, I'm curious as to what exactly you need to control, because there might be other ways that you could just do it with a web browser and not have to tunnel in. But I like Splashtop myself. I use it every day, all the time. It's a nice way to talk to headless machines. In fact, I'm going to do it right now when I show you the other option. So I'm going to cut over to a different camera here in a second. And when I do, you're going to see the other device. So I'm tunneling in to tunneling in. So this is Splashtop that is running. This guy is a GLINet Comet. And you could get this thing called the Fingerbot, which if your computer on the other side at the House of Worship crashed, you could restart it with this mechanical finger. So the Comet is a little KVM, and you put this other app. So this is Splashtop running my Alienware computer. So you can see at the bottom here, I'm on a Mac, but I'm controlling a PC, which is controlling another PC. So this interface that you're seeing right here is the GLI KVM app. And so this is controlling a PC that we use for NDI Bridge, and you could do things like change the different resolutions. So right now you can see this one, well, I don't know how well it's coming across with this display, but you can see that I'm running it at 3840 by 2160. So there's lots of options that you can use. You can go hardware and spend as little as $89 or on sale for Cyber Week, or you can ramp up and spend, I think I pay about $140 per license for Splashtop. Parsec is free for the one user, but if you need to do multiple computers and teams, it starts getting expensive.
Alexander Knight.
Yeah, so like what Guy was saying, kind of need to know how you're going to be using it. If you're not going to be using it for production work where it's mission critical that you have a smooth experience, if you're trying to remote into a machine that's maybe running some kind of nonlinear video editor or something else where you want it to be responsive, the built-in Mac screen share works pretty well over a VPN, but I'm not a huge fan of it for mission critical stuff. So you may want to look at Splashtop. Like if you need, I know you're running Mimo Live for your show, Tony. I don't know if the church uses it, but if you're going to use it with something like that, I would highly recommend something like Splashtop in the top tier plan, so you can get the best possible performance, because you really want it to feel like you're actually there, sitting there in front of that computer.
Let's see. That's everybody. Next question.
All right, next question's coming in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. To refine yesterday's locked off question, do you consider repeat pass camera motions to be locked off?
Oh, that seems in opposite directions. Courtney Gooden, your thoughts?
Well, I don't consider them to be locked off because, hey, they're moving. Now, that's called motion control, and it goes to achieve the same thing, only with, when they came up with motion control many years ago, I think, Dykstra had the Dykstra Flex, and there was Bill Tondreau who came up with the Cooper system, which was used for motion control, where a computer controlled servos that could move the camera repeatedly exactly the same down a track, and it could control the pan tilt of the head, even zoom controls and focus controls as well, so that you could record a pass and then faithfully repeat that with the with the motors controlling the camera movement and camera pointing, etc. Repeatedly to, within a frame, the same frame every time. So you could repeat a pass exactly. That way, all those passes could line up and you could do split screens or composites or 3D, green screen composites into real live backgrounds with moving cameras. And
Jason Beige.
Before they came up with motion control, you had to lock the camera down. But no, I don't consider it locked down.
Yeah, I mean, okay. To me, a locked off shot means that the frame is locked, not the camera. But yeah, this is just kind of it's a splitting hairs thing. No, it's not a locked shot if the camera's moving. This is a neat thing, but this is the YouTube video that he was showing. Really, in this case, they're kind of cheating because that arm needs a lot more reach to be able to go to the car. Really, what it allows you to do is do garbage mats easily, at least in his demo, the one in YouTube.
Yeah, and I think the term locked off came from people using good quality fluid head tripods, because if you balance them correctly, a fluid head will allow you to pan and tilt, and when you stop your hands from moving, the shot will be 100% stable. And these heads, some of which cost thousands of dollars to do this job well, you can literally go from a static shot gently into a pan or a tilt, and everything looks really smooth and professional. But you don't want to leave that there if there's any chance the shot will be moved from where it is. So literally there were locks at the tension control on the pan and tilt. If you gave it a little twist, you could lock it down, basically. And I think that's where the term, hey, just lock off the shot, came from. And it's really about making sure that the camera aspect, horizontally, vertically, tilt, anything else, can't change through the course of a pass. Courtney?
Yeah, and remember the old TV series Bewitched? They used to have to do a lot of shots on that where they pop somebody on and pop them off when she would blink, or also I Dream of Jeannie, the same.
Yes.
Deal. And the camera operators at that point, they were using whirl heads, which are geared heads. So you'd use the cranks, you have a wheel on each vertical and horizontal. And when somebody would have to pop in, they could do a moving shot, but at the end of that shot, it would have to settle, and the camera assistant would quickly lock down the wheels so that they couldn't move, so that then someone could walk in, or, the person that's going to get popped in or popped out would then leave, and then they could do a hard cut between right before and right after that person entered or exited the frame. And that became a locked off shot. And then if they had to do anything really complex, like change the background or change the furniture in the room, where it would take 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you had to be very careful not to bump the camera so it stayed perfectly still while he changed all the stuff, and then they picked up filming from exactly the same shot, and that way you couldn't tell. In a blink of an eye, the entire room would change. But that's another way they would lock off shots. We had to be very careful. I used to work on TV shows where they would have to do that, and it was a pain.
Next question.
This one's from David Brady in New York City, New York. I prefer trackballs over mice, and I'm looking for one with good resolution. Kensington is what I have, but wondering if there's something better. Thoughts?
We got a lot of people weighing in on this. Chris Fenwick's going to start us off. Chris? Oops, you're muted, Chris.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. So I'm not a big fan of the trackball. I find it to be much more difficult with my wrist. However, what I will say, what I do on a Mac, and frankly, David, I think you use PCs a lot, probably at work. I don't know. I changed the resolution of the mouse motion, and I do that even on a mouse. And I think that would give you perceived resolution, because you have to roll the mouse further in order to make anything happen. When somebody has their mouse set, so their controls set that basically, like, imagine like the size of a trackpad. Like if I scroll all the way across the trackpad, the mouse goes all the way across the screen. That may have been fine with like low resolution screens of the 90s and the early 2000s, But as our screens become, 4K and 5K and whatnot, that means the resolution of your pointing device has gotten worse and worse and worse. To get all the way across my screen, I have to go across my mouse pad 2 whole times. So I'm constantly picking up the mouse, but what it means is I have really fine resolution when I'm deep in a timeline or diddling keyframes or whatnot. So that's what
Jason,
I change the resolution.
Jason Beige.
So the way that this has been remedied, what Chris is talking about on modern mice, is that there's usually an acceleration button where it will cut the acceleration so that you can have the acceleration high, and then with a slow get really fine control. To answer your question, though, David, I've seen every trackball I think imaginable over the years, just with all of my clients. Many of them are just absolutely hooked on trackballs. I think Kensington is the way to go. And I've seen some custom jobs where you put a cue ball in there or like a Magic 8 ball, but believe it or not, they're all kind of still using the Kensingtons, just slightly modified to allow the heavier trackball.
Guy Cochran.
All right, so this thing's 20 years old, but this is my Microsoft trackball that I still use and love. You can find them on eBay. This is the one I love. So see if you can find one of those, Microsoft. I have a Logitech on my other machine, but that thing is the one I love.
Jeffrey Powers.
So David, I just checked with David. He's using the Expert mouse from Kensington. I actually have the SlimBlade from Kensington, which is good and bad in some aspects because you have the big trackball. It's easy to pull out. It's a small little bowling ball, and but you also have 4 buttons around, which means if you lay your hand on there, you're going to click your mouse. But this is perfect for Golden Tee because you can do that if you want to. It's got a really nice spin on it, as long as you don't get Cheeto dust on it or anything like that. And once again, you can pull it out just like that so you can clean it. And it's considered I saw a review. It said the Ferrari of trackball mice because it's also wireless and wired, so it's great for portability. But for the most part, I don't use too many trackball mice because I go from computer to computer, and there's usually just a regular mouse on there. And I hate trackpads, so I take a mouse with me wherever I go.
I'm surprised nobody's selling one that's treated with Cheeto dust. Chris Fenwick.
Yeah, Cheeto dust, really, Jeffrey. Speaking of bowling balls, you said little mini bowling ball. I had a friend of mine who was making a remote control for like a PTZ, and his solution to give it a human feel of what a good, like say, a sports camera operator could pull off with a camera was he made a trackball out of a bowling ball. He literally made a bowling ball into a trackball. And he said that's what gave it the good feel for a remote PTZ.
Have fun, everybody. I still haven't touched anything but a trackpad now in, I think, 5 years. Next question.
This one's from Andy Kokendorfer in Viera, Florida, USA. Has anyone used the middle control app to control Blackmagic and Sony cameras?
And he's got an article there linked from News Shooter, which is a very reputable kind of a test bed. They've been around for a long time. I have not. Blackmagic and Sony cameras are a bit different, as I'm finding out right now, as I'm making a transition from being on the Blackmagic ecosystem to Sony. But I've not tried to use middle control in the middle of it. I have other tools, and I will probably be able to come back and speak more about the difference coming up a little later. Oh, Alexander Knight popped in. Alexander, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment here. So for Andy, you may want to look at our Discord server, and I can't remember which one it was or who it was, but people have been talking about this because I know some people have tried it and they've had some problems. And I think somebody posted recently in the last week about how they were able to get something working in there now with the latest updates. So you may want to take a look and see. And maybe ping whoever that was that commented on one of our Office Hours Discord channels to see what they did and what their experience was.
I will note my personal experience over the last 2 weeks is that the menu selection possibilities on some Sony cameras, and my ZVE10 is in this area, is so deep. There are so many buried menus. I mean, there must be 200 pages of menu possibilities with all sorts of little fine controls. That is absolutely wonderful for people who like doing that much control. It makes the adaptation from the Blackmagic menu system, which is pretty simple, has 4 or 5 horizontal pages you can scroll through. Each of those has maybe 10 or 15 choices on them. So I can get through the entire menu system of the Blackmagic camera in a couple of minutes and check out every setting. Boy, on that Sony camera, it takes a good 15 minutes for me to just go through all the possibilities and check and make sure everything is assigned the way I like it. So there's that if you're interested. Next question.
Chuck Swan in Bristol, Wisconsin asks, is there a Thunderbolt or a USB 4 dock that has an SFP Plus instead of 10 gig Ethernet? Would like to go direct to fiber from the Mac. Jason?
Okay, so the answer is yes, but I'm going to challenge how badly you want to do that. So, yeah, Sonic Tech does make a solid, reliable single port 10 gigabit Ethernet SFP transceiver. The problem with this one is that it's short range, so you're only going to get 300 meters of range out of it, which to me doesn't really profess to have the real benefits of fiber. It's $300. I would happen to mention that OWC happens to have a dual 10 gigabit Ethernet dock with a third Ethernet NIC in the front that costs $200 more and doesn't have the same limitations. But again, yes, it exists. And are you sure you want it?
Don't forget this show is entirely run off your questions. You can ask questions, chat about questions, and vote on them in Mukana. That's our kind of Q&A system in the back end. It is a lot of fun to hang out during the show in Mukana because the chat that you're hearing live on the show gets extended there. There are all sorts of people who are not on the show bringing even more answers and discussing the same questions that we're talking about. So if you'd like to get into it, go to officehours.global/join. We'll send you an email. It's a really simple process. You get in there, and it is really about another huge accelerator for the kind of learning you can do on the show if the questions are interesting to you. So that's officehours.global/join. Next question.
This one's from Jack Cannon in Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Folks who use TVs for live production, what are your favorite solutions for transport without breaking the bank?
Courtney Gooden's going to start us off here. Courtney?
Well, there's breaking the bank and then there's breaking the monitor because if you don't put it in the right kind of case, it's going to be broken when it gets to the other end. And it depends on how you're transporting it. If you're transporting it just locally, it's going into a truck's driving to locations, coming off the truck and going and setting up. I've used Gator's fabric cases, and Gator makes a wide variety of cases for monitors. They make these new roto-molded plastic ones that are hard case, not like plywood. The plywood cases, like the ATA-rated cases for airline shipping, those are going to cost you around $1,000. It's going to cost you a lot more than a monitor, probably, if it's a TV, especially. I've used several of these pouch-type Gator cases. The Tote 60 padded case. You can see the different prices. Oh, this one's only $749, but that's for smaller monitors. If you get up to a 55-inch monitor, it's going to cost you about $1,100, I think, for an ATA-rated case. But these new ones are they're lightweight because they're rotomolded ABS plastic. And they don't weigh near as much as a plywood and ABS, laminated case does. And these pouches are padded. They've got a half inch of foam between this ballistic nylon fabric, and it's got a little pouch in the outside where you can store the cables and stuff. And I carry my 27-inch monitors. I designed it where one case like that's about maybe 12 inches thick. That'll hold 2 monitors back to back with screens out, and they have foam padding in between, so I can carry 2 27-inch monitors in one of those Gator fabric cases, and it works good because it doesn't make it too heavy to lift for one person. So that's another consideration. Once you add the weight of that case and the weight of a monitor, you're going to have 2 people to lift it onto a truck or into the back of a car.
Jeffrey Powers.
So the next factor is what you're going to be using it for. Is this just going to be a confidence monitor? Or are you actually going to be using it for some sort of color correction? I'm guessing it's just a confidence monitor so people can see what's going on during the shot. And so I try not to go super cheap, like the Insignias. I always saw the blocking through their digital. I know that Walmart bought Vizio, and Vizio TVs were a pretty decent brand that you could get at a pretty low price. But even Samsungs nowadays, you can get the Crystal UHD monitor starting at about $250, and I think that's a 32-inch. And of course, with 32-inch 40, once you get up to 50-inch, you can usually put it on, take it off, and of course carry it to the car and back. But once you get bigger than 50 inches, that becomes a two-person job to get anything done. And of course, you also need a stand to put it on, like a rolling stand or anything like that, a cart and things like that. So, but I would stick around like I said, $250 Samsung. That way, if it falls off the truck, as Courtney explained, then you could walk down to Walmart and probably buy another one.
Chris Fenwick.
Jack, I know your skills. Go buy some plywood, bust out your track saw. You could make a case. However, I want you to go a couple of years into the future. Whatever monitor you buy today, in 2 to 4 years, you're going to want a bigger monitor. And so now if you build a case or buy a case or buy one of those, I thought those soft bags that Courtney was talking about is pretty cool. You're going to have a case for a monitor that you no longer want to use, and you're going to have this big box for something that doesn't fit anything because you're buying bigger monitors now. If you're buying TVs for production, you may consider just buying a TV for the show that you're doing, giving it away as a gift. They're cheap. Go to the Costco. You're going to spend probably no more than $400 or $500. You should be able to sock that into your budget. Just buy a TV and give them away. No cases. Ooh. You're going to save a ton of money.
Let's all be friends with Chris. Guy Cochran.
Yeah, we use a mix depending on the size. I mean, there's hard cases, especially for the small HD monitors. They're already custom foamed and everything, and those are really well protected. And they have a sheet of acrylic that goes over the front of them, and it's custom. And those are super nice, but it's also super expensive. For the smaller monitors, we have some of these special gator cases. And then we also have soft bags for the 55s, which we could put 2 55s in a soft case. And if you're pretty if you're handling them gingerly, they'll last, but we've got a couple that are broke. So be aware that you go cheap on your case, you're going to have a couple broken TVs. Now, I did pick up at auction. If you want to go the extreme route, you could get what I got at auction. Look at the price of these things. So I picked them up for a couple $100, but they're really cool. These Gelco rotolifts. So you can rotate the monitor so it pops out and pops up, and when you want to store it, it just pushes back in. And I have a couple of these, so these are really cool. But take a look at the website. I'll put it in chat.
Courtney, you wanted to get back in?
Yeah, that's really cool. And you know what? TVs, especially the 55-inch models, have gotten so cheap, under $300. You can get them for around $250 these days. Like Fenwick says, you're going to pay $500. You're going to pay twice the price of that TV for a case to transport it. And what I've done a lot of times those TVs, if they don't work very much. Let's say they'll work 4 or 5 times a year. It's definitely not worth it to spend the money on a big hard case or even shipping it to a distant location. Just go out and buy one when you get there because shipping it is going to cost you more than the price of the monitor itself. When you get there, and the cost of shipping plus the cost of the case, you might as well just buy one when you get there. But I keep the original boxes, so they come well packed. They ship them. They go on and off of trucks in those cases, and I very carefully preserve the cardboard box. And a lot of times they'll have straps that go around them. You cut the straps, you lift off the top very carefully, and they're sitting in the foam. I make sure I mark the foam as to which way the monitor goes in. I take out all the pieces. I keep the box, At the end of the show, I put it back in the cardboard box, and it goes back on the truck, and it can be shipped shipped without damaging it with the styrofoam and the cardboard that it came in. And generally, I can get about 20 or 30 trips out of that cardboard box before it degrades, and I have to come up with something else or sell the monitor.
Let the box get wet.
Hey, don't forget, we have evening shows as well. And tonight, Thursday, The Rundown. David Paskin hosts a panel that takes a deep dive into the why behind the latest tech. It's always a fun show, a little more thoughtful, and we definitely go into things in more depth there. We have kind of a roundtable discussion format. I've been on the show a few times, and I've enjoyed it immensely every time I've been there. So that's tonight, The Rundown with David Paskin. Next question.
This one's coming from Tony Mobley, Noonan, Georgia, USA. My current setup, I have a Zoom H6. I have a Scarlet Solo that I am not using, which should be primary for setup and the other for mobile use.
Alexander Knight, help him out.
Well, they're both small enough devices that you can take them with you, but the main difference is being that the Scarlet really needs a laptop and software to record. So, Tony, if you need something that offers the features that the H6 has, like the ability to just do a quick and dirty recording, pop in an SD card, record that audio, whether it's plugging an external microphone or just using that stereo XY microphone that's built into it. That's really what it's designed for. To be brutally honest, I don't really like the sound of the preamps on either of those devices, nor do I like the build quality of the H6. It has gotten better. I know with the new Focusrite Scarlet, you might have the older one, the Gen 3 or Gen 2. The Gen 4s definitely have gotten better, and I would say that the current MK4 Scarlet has a better sound than that older H6 recorder. So I don't know if you have the budget to upgrade, but at some point, I would seriously think about replacing that and get something better, something even like a Universal Audio Apollo Solo, which I know Bill has that with, with all the DSP power that it offers. It's an incredible sounding mic preamp, and I would probably hand those other ones that you have down the line to somebody else that could use them.
Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, I have the same thoughts as Alexander. The H6 is, and it really depends on which version of the H6. I mean, that device has been around for over 10 years now. And of course, it's gone through a couple different changes from the micro USB to USB-C, for example. And so it's all about the how old it is and how worn it is, of course, if the dials still work and everything like that. But the versatility of the H6 over the Scarlet is just going to be hands down. What I would use the Scarlet for is if I'm doing one person, like a solo act or a duo, or where I only have to bring in a couple inputs, whereas the H6 I could actually hook up multiple microphones and record a drum set if I wanted to. So if you need something that needs more inputs than that Scarlet, then the H6, the portability of the H6 is just hands down from the Scarlet. But if you want to have a station where they just sit down in front of a computer and they hook a couple inputs in, then a Scarlet would be decent. And it's also got some great software to it.
I was reading the chat and I saw Mickey say jinx, and I looked above, and so both Mickey and Chris Sabato both said exactly the same thing in chat. Scarlet for home, H6 for mobile use. So take that as you will. Next question.
We have a QR code question coming in from Sarah Doyle in Washington, D.C. Agentic AI seems to be the next evolution of the machine learning monster. I've been playing with N8N to try and help automate some workflows that bog down the producers in prepro. Anyone else playing around in this space?
It was interesting. On Tuesday, our special show was with my friend Ian Anderson down in Australia, and we talked a lot about models and things like that. It was a really interesting hour for me to learn more because I don't know a ton about the various models. There's just so much work in this space that I think it's kind of hard keeping up. That was at least what I came away from talking to Ian about. He has a new book coming out about AI for creative production, and it's interesting to see how fast this is developing. I don't know whether anybody else in the show is playing around. I'm sure there are people in the back end of the show and elsewhere around here who are dealing with this topic right now of matching the model to the things you need to do. But boy, it seems like we're just playing a game of leapfrog. Whatever anybody says about this came out last night and it's much better as a model than the one before it. And then a week and a half later, somebody is saying the same thing about a newer model than that one. It's a crazy game to try to catch up with all the development and all the vast amounts of money and time and attention from really smart people going into this idea of AI. So I think we're all just going to have to keep watching them, know what you need to do, and pay attention to all the chatter of people actually using them every day, because, boy, I've never seen something develop as fast as this is developing right now. Jeffrey Powers, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest problems with LLMs right now is that it's all about that memory. In fact, I've been running a test on Sora where I basically create a video prompt, and then they have a thing called Remix, and I've been choosing Remix every single day with that prompt to see where the limitations are. Of course, you had the content violation limitations because you can't use commercial stuff or anything like that, but it has things like I started saying, well, add this to it, change this every single day. And the idea is to create a prompt that's so big that the model has a hard time being able to read it, because I always find that AI has always been has a short-term memory to it. So if you say, do this and do this, it'll forget the first thing that you asked it to do and do the second thing. And you say, well, but what about the first thing? Oh, yeah, I'll bring that first thing in, and then I'll forget about the second thing. So with this model, I'm seeing that it's trying to remap the brain, so to speak, of AI to be able to do that. So when I say put in this thing and this thing, it does both, and it remembers both 20 prompts down the line when I'm trying to change something else.
Yeah, one of the interesting things on the show that Ian showed us on Tuesday night was he took things that looked great and he was diving into the backgrounds and seeing that what the AI wasn't doing. I think he was using Sora or one of the video generative tools. And it looks so good when you first looked at it. I mean, you can watch a clip and go, oh, that's really brilliant. There's some people dancing in a nightclub kind of thing. And wow. And then he stopped and he dove into what was going wrong in it. And it seemed to me that it reminds me of Impressionism, the stuff coming out of generative these days. It's not the careful, detailed, every pixel is correct frame to frame. It is the overall impression of the thing you're looking at is really good. But man, there were so many small errors in the background. Here's one person in the background and there's kind of a pan, and the next thing you come, they've morphed into two separate characters, things that wouldn't happen in real life, but was very much a part of the generative video process, at least at this point. Now, maybe this will all get fixed, but I was kind of shocked at how many things, when he took a detailed look at things like video generators, how many things were not happening correctly in the back. It's fascinating. I enjoyed that hour immensely. And good luck, Sarah, in finding the tools that work for you. And I hope they meet your needs. Next question.
This one is from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. If you could magically solve one persistent challenge within the Mukana ZoomISO Cloud pipeline, what would it be and why?
Jason Beige is going to help us out.
Oh, I would drop the round trip latency of every packet on the internet to zero.
Oh,
and why? Well,
okay.
if you need to know why, you don't know how the internet works.
If you can make that happen, anybody, by snapping your fingers, please do so immediately. That's going to take a little while to get through. Courtney Gooden, your thoughts?
An automatically expanding screen, with these rollable and OLED displays these days, if you move a window over here, the screen just kind of rolls out and accommodates that screen and goes up, and then you've got more screen space. So something that would expand your screen size as you add more windows, because in that combination of Zoom Mukana and ZoomISO, what you need is more screen real estate without having to add a bunch of individual screens.
Wasn't somebody working on like fabric pixels
there are laptops
embedded in
now
fabric?
The screen rolls up to adds about 5 inches to the bottom when you use it. And then
There you go.
I saw one at Lenovo at CES last year. I'm expecting to see one this year at CES. I will be going to CES, by the way.
Oh, cool. All right. Alexander Knight, you had some thoughts.
I don't really have any persistent challenges with Zoom itself. My persistent challenges is with the guests that keep coming on shows with horrible audio and video, and they seem to be on Wi-Fi every single time. So if we could somehow tell people that what they're doing is important enough that they should take it seriously, that would be really great. In fact, Paul, actually, if you could start mailing out some microphones from your museum of microphones to my guests, that'd be really helpful. Thanks.
There you go. Courtney, you wanted to come back in for a last thought?
Yeah, I just thought of one thing. In Mukana, the one thing I miss and I wish it had is the ability to rearrange the columns in whatever order that I want, so that when I size a window down, it gets rid of the column that I don't want rather than the column I do want. So if I could rearrange the positions of the columns, that would be a great aid in Mukana, so that I could with my limited screen space, because I don't have that magic expanding screen, then I could at least get rid of the columns that I almost never need and put them off screen while keeping the ones that I do need on screen.
Hey, if you value what we do here, you can help. There's a few ways. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you'd like. You can volunteer, which I highly recommend. It is such a great community that we have managed to create over the course of the last 5 years here at Office Hours. So you can do that by starting at officehours.global/volunteer and become part of the team. And as I said, meet really nice people. Or you can donate simply if you'd like to. We are a 501c3, so you can donate at officehours.global/donate, and we would tremendously appreciate that. It'll help us continue to do the work we've been doing for the last, as I said, almost 5 years. Next question.
This question comes in from Zach Stallsmith in Chautauqua, New York. Am I able to use one magic mouse/keyboard to control multiple Macs at the same time?
Chris Fenwick, start us off.
Absolutely, Zach. What you have to do is on both Macs, you need to turn Bluetooth on. That's really the key. And then you go into the mouse settings, and I think you have to do this on both Macs. And there's a button at the bottom of the mouse settings called Set Up Bluetooth Mouse. And if I show you this, you have to click on this Connect to Accessories. And this shows you all my various Bluetooth things. But I think those are the things. Jason's going to correct me if I left something out. But those are the main things. It's one of the things that falls under the umbrella of continuity settings, I think. But I do it across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monitors on 2 Macs. And then what's really fun is when you set up the actually, let me show you this real quick. Hold on. Displays.
Sure. Displays set up.
Let's go to displays. All right, so here's the arrange button, and this is the 2 Macs. So one Mac is set up like this. It makes sense when you see it in real life. These are mirror displays, and this is how I get my editor out to the Atem, which I then plug into this anyway. And then this is my second display. So yes, it absolutely can be done. I do it all day, every day. It works pretty darn good.
Jason Bache.
Yeah, it works. I wouldn't use it in production. I have seen it fail. That said, as long as you're logged into the same iCloud account, I find it's pretty accurate. I have also seen it get wrong. Figure out, with great accuracy, which side of the screen, my iPad is on. Is it on the left or on the right? And then it gets it wrong. And that makes me crazy. So, caveat emptor, but yeah, it mostly works.
Guy Cochran?
Yeah, it depends on how you want to run them. So what you're seeing right now is 4 computers, and this is a quad split here. And I'm using this software called Synergy from Simless, and it allows you to switch between multiple computers. And then I control another 15 or so using Splashtop. So between this setup, I can control Macs and PCs. And then I also have the get out of jail free card, which in case the Simless thing crashes, I have a hardware USB KVM that I can just push can't see it right now, but I have a little clicker in my hand that I can just push and jump from computer to computer. So Simless has been very stable for me, but in the beginning it wasn't. And if you ever restart a computer, sometimes Simless doesn't allow you to log in. And so in those emergency situations, I like to have the button, but the KVM was only like $50 on Amazon. So depends on what you need. If you want to use one keyboard video mouse from afar, there's also like $200 boxes that allow you to do it over Ethernet, so you can be really far away and have total control.
Next question.
This one's from Harold Williams in Portsmouth. I need to get an understanding of shooting in D-Log-M using the DJI Flip camera. Is it a foolproof method, or am I just asking for more trouble?
Jason Bache and Courtney are going to help you out. Here's Jason first. Jason?
I'm unaware of a foolproof way to learn anything in production. But, that said, if what you really want to learn is how to shoot log and then make use of LUTs or, as part of a greater production workflow, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really matter which raw codec you're going to work on because the method of modifying it and putting it into a pipeline is relatively the same.
Courtney?
I guess it depends on how you shoot and whether you want to take the trouble. I mean, is it foolproof? No, it's adding a whole lot of fools to the pipeline because D-Log-M is a flat, ugly-looking format if you use it directly without color grading. So it's going to force you to either apply a LUT in post-production or color grade every single shot that comes out in D-Log-M. Because if you look at D-Log-M on a regular monitor, it's flat, contrastless, muted colors, sometimes green looking. It's not very pretty to look at. So if you like to shoot stuff and post it instantly on YouTube without having to go through the trouble of color grading each and every shot to make the color look perfect, yeah, it's a lot of trouble. Just find something with a Rec 709 and use it, or apply that Rec 709 filter, and you'll get the standard broadcast color filter, and you won't have to mess with it in post. But if you're trying to shoot something cinematic and you want deeper, more detail in the shadows and the ability to do higher contrast or lower contrast stuff, and adjust the color balance or maybe dilute the color or increase the color in post, then shoot D-Log-M. You'll have a lot more room to wiggle in adjusting that color once you get it into your post-production software.
Next question.
This one's from Jeff Keithley in Texas. Job question. A friend at iHeart asked me to cross-promote a job application for a virtual video engineer position. Are people looking for jobs like this?
Is there any way people aren't looking for jobs these days? Jason Bache, what do you think?
Well, Jeff, consider your promise kept to your friend.
Yeah, it was a little self-answering, but I do think, look, the old ways of doing a lot of these things, and certainly looking for work, man, it just seems to me, I haven't gone out and looked for an outside job in such a long time, and I pray I don't have to, but I know my wife went through that process, and it's just more challenging, I think, than it's been in a lot of years. The old ways, it was put an ad in the newspaper or something like that, or look through the newspaper to find it. Those are like completely gone. And now it's pretty much a matter of networking and who you know and finding new ways to get out. I know Alex has always been a huge advocate, and I agree with him 100% about volunteering in places and meeting people. And then if you prove that you're very competent and can do a particular set of tasks, have a particular set of skills, then that's probably one of the quickest ways to find your next position. But boy, it is difficult out there. And Jeff, we hope you find exactly the video engineer that you're looking for. Next question.
This one's from Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For a budget mini PC doing 4K SRT streaming in OBS, how much real-world headroom do I gain stepping up from an Intel N95 4C/4T to a Ryzen 5 3550H, 4C8T 5500U, or Ryzen 7 6800U?
Good job, Alexander. That was like having to read a parts catalog. Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, so we'll go in the back and we'll find that. I would throw away every single option except for the Ryzen 7. That's where I would start. You're talking about 4K video. You want to have a good graphics card in there. You want to have a good processor in there, so you can run into anything. Especially, I don't know how many feeds, Josh, you're bringing into the computer. Audio feeds, video feeds. Is it if it's just a one-on-one conversation, or if it's a multi-panel? If you're trying to do an office hours or anything like that, you want to have the best possible. And out of that list, the Ryzen is probably going to be your best right there. And you want to have it with a good graphics card. Of course, NVIDIA-based graphics card works better than, of course, the AMD-based graphics cards from there.
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, because the N95 is a Celeron, so you got 4 CPU cores, so you can't do a lot of processing in the OBS with the N95 versus the Ryzen 7, which you'll have probably 8 cores, 16 threads because it's multi-threading. So I'd go with the Ryzen. Also, max out the memory on that mini PC. You're probably not going to say, if you're talking about mini PC, you're not talking about putting a graphics card in there, but going with the graphics that are in there. And the Ryzen 7 will probably have AMD graphics as its on-chip graphics, which will do you just fine, I think, with that 6800U for running OBS. And just max out as much. If you can get 32 gigabits of RAM in there, shove that in there. If more, go more. Some of them are making these NPU mini PCs now. GMK Tech makes one. It's around $2,000, but it's about this big and takes up to 128 gigs of RAM, and that RAM is accessible to the GPU and the CPU. It's shared RAM, so you can use it for NPU functions for doing AI stuff on board.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when I first did a 4K stream, and it took a Wowza Clearcaster running like a jet airplane, fans, and just full load. And now we want to do it with a little tiny $200 box. I would say with careful tuning, maybe the N95 could. Yesterday in after hours, we did some tests with the new Iris software, and it was on a lower end PC, and we were just maxing it out. So keep an eye on your task manager. And then what we found in after hours was to run this Windows debloat software. It's a PowerShell script, and that helped us get a little bit lower. So if you go with the Ryzen out of these two, the Ryzen's going to be a little bit stronger. So debloat it and then run some task manager tests and bake them in. The other thing you might want to look at is just buying one of these Zowie Techs for $149, and that thing will do 4K streaming. So depends on what your source is too, because if it's NDI, this thing will help out a lot because it can decode. So that's the other part of this is what's your source coming in, because if it's NDI, it has to decode.
Hey, thanks to everybody who's been a part of the show today. Thank you to our producers. Those of you who asked questions and voted on the questions, we can't do this show without you, so thank you. To the panelists, everybody who shows up here, donates their time. It's been a great crew today, as always, so thank you very much. And to our amazing back-end crew, that silent army behind the scenes who show up every single day. And I look forward to talking with every single day when we show up for the show. Without you guys in the back end, men and women who have done an amazing job of getting us on the web every single day for thousands of days. Thank you very much. Don't forget, this is the Teletraversal for today. This is episode 2081 episodes. We've traveled 21,000 miles, easy for me to say, 34,000 kilometers. That is 169 million bananas for scale. We'll be right back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you then.
How many nano bananas will that be?
Thank you, everybody.
I believe we have established that a nano banana is one 1/10,000th of a banana.
Ah,
It's 1 millionth bananas.
my luck, I'd get 1/10,000th, and it would be all peel.
Ugh.
Pithy.
Bye, everybody.